Hey, welcome everyone to our third and final episode in our series on values, respect and culture. Now in this episode, Clive explains how the respect model fits with their values model. Now this is all about taking action and putting the rubber to the road. How do you build engagement? And what happens when you engage your people and they feel that their contributions matter? But most importantly, where does it all start? So what do you see when you look in the mirror? Because that's where it really all starts. Now remember their three-legged stool of core values, respect, process and procedures. Well, the respect model complements the other two legs. And I'd like you to think of it this way. If one of the legs is shorter than the other, well, let's imagine it even broke off. What would happen when you sit on the stool? Something for you to ponder. So I'd like to thank Clive again for his time in sharing with us the first two episodes, and we hope that you engaged and enjoyed the series. Now, if you would like some more information, then please contact me directly on my email, gavin@planningplus.com.au, or you can call or text me anytime, and our country code is 61 for Australia, 409 152 314. And once again, just thanks for taking the time to check this series out. Thanks again to Clive, and thanks again for all the great feedback from all of us here at Planning Plus Software. Enjoy the rest of your day. Bye for now.
And then that brings us to the last slide today, which is the respect model.
Mm-hmm.
And Clive, could you just walk through each of those letters on the respect model path?
Yeah, I certainly can. Now, let's go all the way back. This came from the book. Carrots and sticks don't work. And it's all about building engagement. Obviously, people turn up to work to earn money for compensation. But I can't refer to the study, but they say that's not the key driver. That's not the key driver. It's an important part. Of course it is, but it's down the list. And people really want to feel that, number one, that their efforts are appreciated and that their contributions matter and make a difference. Now, those don't translate into monetary terms alone. So how do you drive that? How do you get it and get people engaged on a personal level and aligned with the missions that we're trying to achieve as a company? And so I didn't come up with this model, but what I have done is obviously taken elements of it and put it into practice at Mainline. And that's what we do. You referred to this earlier, Gavin. It's okay studying it. It's okay reading a book about it, but you've actually got to put the rubber to the road at some point. So the respect model, when we rolled it out initially, I brought it to the leadership team and said, we should do this as leaders. We should be very mindful of doing these elements of the respect model. And it was a humbling experience because we all have to look each other ourselves in the mirror and just say, well, I've probably got room for improvement there. I'm not too good at that, whatever it may be. And then Joe, in his infinite wisdom, said, well, wouldn't it be great if everyone in the whole place was on board with this, the sort of guiding principles behind it? So it doesn't contradict our core values. Quite the opposite. It's sort of a complementary set of guidelines, if you like. So let's take them one by one. Respect model. You see that the word respect doesn't actually appear in any of these. That's just the net result. If you do all these, you gain respect, you give respect. So R is recognition. Take the time to let others know that their work is appreciated. And many managers, supervisors, advisors, leaders overestimate. They overestimate how much they give recognition. They think they do it all the time and probably not so much. So if you're in that kind of position, a little thank you, a note, a little bonus if you feel so inclined, but just highlighting and shining a light on people in a morning meeting, that sort of thing, just a thank you in front of everyone. So powerful. And obviously recognition is a big part. Empowerment. Provide tools, training, and opportunities to be successful. Again, if you ask someone to do a job and you haven't equipped them right, either from tooling or from training, then what chance have they got to succeed? So provide all of that. and then put the faith in them to make good decisions, and then get out of their way, essentially empower them to make wise choices and drive some action. Empowerment. I can't remember who the president was, but it's something about the wisest man knows how to employ the right people and then step back and let them do the job. So that's a big part. Supportive feedback, deliver constructive performance feedback. Regular constructive performance feedback. And that's just like a sports coach would. Imagine a basketball coach waiting until you've played a 20-game season before giving some kind of feedback. It's kind of pointless. So supportive feedback has to be in the moment, right there and right then. You could say constructive, but supportive is where it is. Great job, or here's something that I've seen that you could improve on. But do it in the moment, and so that people know where they can improve. Partnering, foster collaborative working relationships with individuals and teams. That can be internally or externally as well, but you've got to build partnerships. I know when I first started at Mainline, there was a tangible, I wouldn't say division, but lack of alignment between front of house and back of house. Service writers didn't do this. If only production would do that. And that's not uncommon across the industry, but it doesn't exist here anymore because we've built those partnerships and everyone on the same page pulling in the right direction. So partnering, that's a big deal. Expectations. I've always said that Joe's a master at this. Set clear expectations and ensure accountability. So who, what, why, where, and how. just clearly outline that so that people are under no illusion as to what's expected of them. If you fail to do that and people don't deliver, you've only got yourself to blame. So that's big. Consideration. Now, this is probably getting a little touchy-feely, if you like, for the rough, tough body shop world, but treat people with consideration. Show thoughtfulness and consideration towards others. It's easy to forget that, you see the world through your own set of eyes, and there's 40 sets of eyes here, and everyone has their own aspirations and challenges. And it's easy to overlook the fact that they could be having a rough day for one reason or another, so show some consideration. And finally, the one thing that underpins all of it is trust, and demonstrate and engender trust in others. If you don't have mutual trust, two-way trust, it's all for naught, So you've really got to work hard to give people a reason to trust you, show trustworthiness. So that is the respect model, and we've rolled that out here, and it was very powerful. We had some people who just took it as face value, and they went, man, I don't do well in some of those areas. And we're due a refresher on this again. As I mentioned earlier, every 90 days things can fall off the rails. So I need to revisit this very soon. And again, it just gives people a different mindset on their day-to-day work when they're faced with some potentially difficult situation or some confrontational situation. Just the respect model, if that pings into their head, then they've probably got a different way of looking at it. So this is the third part of the three-legged stool, along with core values, respect model, and of course process and procedure that keeps us on the right track.
Well explained, thank you. And you can see from that how it does tie back into that three-legged stool, and that recognition one, even when you said that at the beginning, is I often talk with people and I'll say, look, just find people doing things right as opposed to going out there looking for what they're doing wrong.
Yeah.
The
principle there, Gavin, is and I hate to sound so cold about it, but you'll never get the behavior you do want by focusing on the behavior you don't. So if you're always calling people out for their flaws, then they get tired of it, you get tired of it. But you give them a attaboy for something they've done well, it goes a long way. It goes a long way. And if you fail to do that, whatever it may be, let's just say it's showing up late for work. If you just forever calling people out for that, then it just becomes blah, blah, blah after a while. If they show up early one day and you give them a thank you very much, why should I have to thank someone for doing their job? Why should you have to do that? That's what they're paid to do, isn't it? But no, you would not do not ever underestimate the value of just thanking them for doing what they're doing. Show up, and they'll go, okay, that feels good. Maybe I'll show up for work on time every day. And if you fail to do that, the next time they would hear anything about tardiness is the next time they're late, of course, and you just rinse and repeat.
Interesting, that concept. You can have someone showing up late and you can make all types of assumptions and judgment on that person. And I call this, I've got an acronym, a little thing I call approach and coach. So how do we approach and coach each of our team members? So that person that's showing up late, and it might be 3 days out of 5, and how do you approach and coach them to determine where you can help them? What's the consideration? You can look at it from the respect model and say, well, how can I utilize the respect model in relation to how I approach and coach that person to try and understand what's happening in his or her world? So what thoughtfulness can I show to sit down with that person and say, is everything okay?
Yeah.
I've noticed that over the last couple of weeks, which is uncommon for you, that you're struggling to get into work on time on a regular basis. Is everything okay? Is there anything we can do for you?
Yeah.
And just trying to unfold through that, you know, just how you relate to that person as a human being. You don't know what's going on in their life.
Yeah, exactly.
And we can easily make assumptions and judgments on it and call them out. And then you can use the big stick, the stick and the carrot, you know, you can give them a big whack. Well, what's that going to do for you? Nothing.
Exactly.
Absolutely nothing.
Exactly.
It's just going to keep them in a hole for the rest of the day.
Exactly it. And so, you know, the end result here is that if we all get good at all these elements of the respect model or variation on the theme, but people will feel more engaged at work. And that is so powerful. If they feel engaged, then they go the extra mile voluntarily, not because they're dangled a carrot to do so or hit with a stick to do so. They just will. They just become wired that way. And you think of it as manipulation if you like, but you know, this really is nothing. This isn't rocket science. This is really basic stuff, really. And we've seen it work. Our culture is developing all the time. We're moving in the right direction. We're seeing the benefits of the work that we put into this. But again, the underlying thing, you can't just print this out, stick it on the wall and expect it to just change the world. It isn't. You have to live it, breathe it, and walk the talk.
And all of that comes down to the very last line in that respect model, T for trust. Because everything above that line contributes to that last line. Demonstrate and engender trust in others, because without the trust, it's extremely difficult to build on anything else.
Absolutely. That's huge.
And the trust comes from being able to tell the truth, doesn't it?
Of course. Yeah. What's the proverb? Was it your actions speak so loudly I can barely hear what you're saying?
Yes. Yeah.
You know, so that comes back to it, man. You've got to walk the talk. But you've got to, you build trust through your words and your actions.
Absolutely.
You get that and magic happens.
Well, thanks, Mr. Clive. It's been I've really enjoyed today's interview. It's so great. We've got these synergies here. We're on the other side of the world from each other, but we've got some really powerful synergies, and you can feel like everything. I look at things from a spiritual perspective and vibrational energy perspective nowadays, and If you would have said anything like that to me in my 20s, I would have laughed at you and thought you were smoking something that I maybe should have been smoking with you. But but nowadays I see life through a totally different lens, and you have to see life through a totally different lens when you're 59 years old, and you've got a 20-day-old son.
You have no choice in the matter now.
But no, thank you, and look, thanks for all you've done for the help that you've delivered to Mainline Autobody and the team that you've contributed towards building there with Joe, and none of us are as good as all of us together, and that's clearly proven in your world and our world, and we can always sit down and chew the fat as we speak, and just share it as it is, and respect each other from the feedback that we get from each other. So I thank you today.
Listen, Gavin, I mean, just before we wrap, we've referred to Joe a lot. He is a legend of the industry. I've said on many occasions, he is the most amazing person I've ever met for many, many reasons. I've always made no secret of that. And so I joined Mainline, just over 2.5 years ago, and all the processes, procedures, to away, all that thing that kind of preceded me. I very much put it that Joe pushed us a long way up the mountain, and then it was easy for me to come along and just support him and help him and help try to get us a little bit further up to the top. And that was only possible because of the culture that he'd already built. There was a solid foundation that we could add all this extra things to. And, as you mentioned, this deeper thinking, this different way of thinking that isn't necessarily common in a body shop world. So, thank you for thanking me, but honestly, I am so privileged to have had the mentorship that I've had, and to get to work with the people that I do all day, every day. I don't know how I got here, but I'm just so grateful that I'm here.
Awesome stuff. And one of the things that we use in our 100 Breaths podcast is when I get to the end of that podcast, I always ask my guest a question, and I'm going to put it to you. And it's going to be, Clive Burnage, who are you breathing for today and why?
Oh, man. For Dale Geyer. Yeah. Here's why. He's Joe's Idaho neighbor. He's struggling right now, and he's such a good guy. I've only met him once, a couple of times on the phone, but someone was just so full of life and energy. So, man, he's struggling, and I know it hurts Joe and it hurts me. So, yeah, for Dale Geyer in Idaho.
Awesome stuff. And he'll feel that energy as well. It's really powerful when you can just send some energy someone's way, and they'll accept it and take it on, and that can help them through. I know that Dale's going through a difficult situation there with an illness, and he's got some great support, and he's a great mate to Joe up there in Idaho. So we'll put our energy Dale's way as well. And excellent. We can thank you, Clive, for taking the time today to share all of the culture and respect model and the everything that truly represents the values for Mainline Autobody. And they not only apply to Mainline Autobody, but let's look at the values that we applied in life in general. That's a real powerful tool. So,
common sense, really. Common
sense, yeah. And checking in on yourself. That's what you got to do, is just continually check in on, where are you at and what's important. And probably the biggest thing that I've ever learned is that, the moment you can learn to speak the truth and be truthful to yourself, your world can change.
Yeah.
So thanks, Clive. And we'll sign off, and we'll let you get out of there and get home.
Thank you, Gavin. It is party night. But as always, this has been a pleasure. Thank you so much. So I'll look forward to seeing you in California soon, unless, of course, your recent arrivals now changed your travel plans forever.
They haven't changed it forever, but they've certainly put it on hold for a little bit, that's for sure. But no, I'll get back there. I love my time over there at Mainline and in the States, and have enjoyed some really good relationships and friendships that have built over the years.
Excellent.